The poltergeist encounters began soon after Joe Berini relocated his wife and two of her children from a previous marriage into his ancestral New England house in the late 1970s. Later, paranormal researchers dubbed these events the Berini hauntings. The family did not realize at the time that the house had a mysterious past that would start off benignly before turning into terrifying events that forced them to leave their home and seek assistance elsewhere. "Mama, Mama, this is Serena," said a small child one evening in May 1979, penetrating this dimension and becoming their first extraterrestrial visitor. At that time, Joe and Rose were unaware of any daughter named Serena who had ever been a member of the family. They soon discovered, though, that when Serena paid them a visit, something big, usually with disastrous results, was about to happen to the family. Daisy, their daughter, went to the doctor after Serena's initial visit to have her tonsils removed. However, there were issues with the procedure that caused Daisy's heart to stop and almost kill her. The Berinis were aware of Serena's visitation schedule and Daisy's near-death encounter. Serena's stay with the family also fell on a night in November just before Joe's grandmother's death and the occasion of her stroke. Joe recalls hearing Serena's voice as he woke up from sleep and discovered his wife choking next to him, suggesting that she had a close bond with the family. She tells him that her ex-husband choked her in her dream when he shakes her awake. Early on in the Berini hauntings, it seemed like children were the recurring theme. Although there was a pause from late 1979 to March 1981, Rose saw another child during that time. A small youngster wandering the corridor of her apartment, all white. Similar to Serena, these were not terrifying encounters. In fact, she told researchers that they were a very peaceful experience. This small child appeared to be looking for an object, in contrast to Serena, whose job it seemed to be to alert the family to danger. Joe saw the youngster go into each bedroom and then settle on the corridor floor, looking about for something he couldn't see. Later, out of curiosity, Joe dug up the floorboards and discovered a Virgin Mary medallion. Through family inquiry, the Berini family learned that Joe's father, Carlos, had two younger siblings that had died in the house. There was Serena, who had passed away at the tender age of 5, and a young boy by the name of Giorgio, who was gone at 8. What I find interesting here is that there wasn't a family investigation into these tragedies. One child is tragic, but two is suspicious. The fact that both chose to haunt the ancestral home is very unusual. Had these children been killed? And if so, by whom? It was unlikely the older brother could have done it because he was relatively young himself. The father? Joe heard the little boy say to him on one occasion, "My oldest brother is the only one who can help me." What did he mean? Help him from what? That very sentence was the beginning of the terror. It was shortly thereafter this statement that objects started to move in unpredictable fashion with phones flying, doors slamming open and shut, and objects being yanked from Rose's hands. This turn of events led the Berinis in search of spiritual help. They asked 2 priests to come and bless the house, which they did with prayers and holy oil. There was a quiet spell after the rituals, but it wasn't for long. The entity that descended upon them shortly after seemed straight from hell, though it once proclaimed itself a minister of God. It was a male, hunchback figure with oversized feet wearing a black cape. It brought with him fury and intimidation, including flying objects, bookcases being moved, and eventually physical attacks. The children were hit on several occasions, but Rose took the brunt of the figure's venom. On one occasion, Rose was struck by an open freezer door, but this was mild compared to what was to come. One evening, Rose was yanked from bed at night, suspended in the air, then dropped to the floor. Another night, Joe was called back from work to find their bed leaping several feet in the air and Rose cowering in the corner with a crucifix. The final straw was a carving knife jammed into the kitchen table. The Berinis left the house and again sought spiritual help. The second exorcism seemed to work as the hauntings vanished. It was at this point the family welcomed the Psychical Research Foundation to investigate their claims. Personal remark. Based on my paranormal study, and as previously said, it is rare for a kid to haunt a house, much less 2. A connection to the physical, an abrupt departure from this world, or unresolved business are frequently the reasons for hauntings. Both the evil entity and the drawback to the physical plane were initiated by someone. The grandpa, who was also the children's father, seemed to have already gone away. Was that the person in a cloak? I suppose this haunting will always remain a mystery, much like most hauntings.